everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to make a beautiful duster cardigan. This is my Golden Hour Crochet Duster Cardigan, and I hope you love it. I hope you enjoy the process of creating this piece because it's not a one-day creation. It's something that's going to test your patience, as I mentioned in one of my live videos, but it will also make you fall in love with the process. Today I will be using a 4mm crochet hook and then a darning needle. A measuring tape is a must. I'll be measuring the points where to measure as we go along in the video. And then the yarn that I used for this project is Seagull. It's a 4-ply acrylic yarn, but since this is a fingering weight yarn, I'll be doubling my strand, and I used approximately 20 balls. I used 2 packets of Seagull, and each ball is 300 yards. So literally I needed about 6,000 yards of yarn to make the whole project. This project is a yarn eater, I won't lie, but the results are worth it. You're going to get something heavy, something functional, something warm for the cold weather. And then if you decide to use a DK weight yarn and a 4mm crochet hook, then you don't have to double your strand. You will need approximately 3,000 yards. But for me, I use 6,000 because I am using a double strand. And yeah, let's get started. The measurements that you will need for this project are your shoulder to shoulder, and then your shoulder to your wrist measurement, and then the length of the cardigan that you want. And I think that's basically it. Let's get started. This piece can be made to any size as long as you follow the measurements that I'll be mentioning in the video. And then another bonus of the video is we shall be making these ballon sleeves, as you can see in this image on the screen. And the cardigan also has a beautiful ribbing both at the front and also at the base of the cardigan, as well as on the wrist. If you would like the written pattern, it's already available on all my online shops. You can grab a copy for yourself. So let's jump right into the video. Alright, so I will be doing a demonstration of the stitch that I used for the main body of the cardigan. And then eventually, after learning the stitch, I will be explaining and mentioning the number of chains to consider for the different panels depending on your measurements. So this is a small swatch that's going to teach you how to make the general stitch, and then later on we shall expand the panels in order to fit the measurements of the cardigan that we're going to consider making. So I am using a double strand, as I had mentioned earlier on. You're going to start off with a slip knot, and remember I am using a 4mm crochet hook. So you're going to make an odd number of chains. For me, I'm going to start off with a chain of 21. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so I have my 21 chains, and you should make sure that you have an odd number of chains. So you're going to go into the second chain from the hook. So we count from this one 1, and into the second you're going to go in there with a single crochet. We're going to first do a single crochet row all the way across. So single crochet into the next chain, just insert your hook, pull up a loop. You have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all. Insert your hook, pull up a loop. You'll have 2 loops on your hook. Remember, since I am using a double strand, it may appear like I have 4 loops, but I have 2 loops. So yarn over, pull through all. So you're going to go all the way across, placing 1 single crochet in each and every chain across. All right, so we're coming to the end of the row, and you're going to place one single crochet into the very last chain. So you should have one stitch less than the number of chains that you started with. Since I started with 21 chains, I should have a total of 20 single crochets because one of the chains was the turning chain. So this is what we have. All right, now for row 2, we're going to start creating our textured stitch, which is called the Suzette stitch. So you're going to make a chain of 1 and turn your work into the very first stitch, which is this one that's attached to the chain 1. You're going to yarn over, insert your hook into that stitch, pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all. So that's a half double crochet into the very first stitch. So you're going to skip over the next stitch into the next. After skipping 1 stitch into the next stitch, you're going to place 1 single crochet and 1 double crochet all in the same stitch, just like that. Skip 1 stitch into the next stitch, you're going to place 1 single crochet, 1 double crochet all in the same stitch. So we are placing 2 stitches, a single crochet and a double crochet. Skip 1 stitch, place your 2 stitches, 1 single and 1 double. So you're going to do that all the way across until you have a total of 3 stitches left on your row, and then I'll show you how to wind up. Don't forget to always skip a stitch in between. So after your 2 stitches, skip the next stitch and single crochet into the next and double crochet into the same stitch. So as you can see, we have a total of 3 stitches left. You're going to skip the next stitch, and into the second last stitch you're going to place 1 single crochet and 1 double crochet into the same stitch. Now you'll be left with only 1 stitch, and you place a half double crochet into that last stitch. So you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the last stitch, pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops left on your hook, yarn over, pull through all, and that marks the end of row 2. So we're going on to row 3. For row 3, you're going to do the same exact thing that you've done for row 2. So you're going to make a chain of 1 and turn your work, half double crochet into the very first stitch, which is this one. So yarn over, go into the first stitch with a half double crochet, skip the next stitch, and into the next you're going to place 1 single crochet and 1 double crochet, sorry, 1 single crochet and 1 double crochet into the same stitch. Skip the next stitch, and into the next stitch you're going to place 1 single crochet and 1 double crochet. Skip the next stitch, into the next stitch you're placing 1 single crochet and 1 double crochet. So one thing that you should take note of is we are placing our 2 stitches into the single crochet from the previous row. You can see this stitch is higher than this one. So this was the single crochet of the previous row, and this was the double crochet of the previous row. So we're going into the single crochet, the one that's a bit low. It's like hills and valleys. This one is like a hill and then a valley. So we skip the double crochet stitch, and then into the single crochet from the previous row we place a single crochet and a double crochet. Skip the next double crochet, and into the single crochet you're going to place 1 single and 1 double, and you're going to do that all the way across until you have 3 stitches left on your row, and I'll show you how to wind up row 3. So I have 3 stitches left on my row. You can see this, this, and this. So you're going to skip over this double crochet and go into the single crochet with 1 single crochet and 1 double crochet into the same stitch. And now we have 1 stitch left. We're going to go in there with a half double crochet stitch. So that marks the end of row 3. So we're basically going to repeat row 3 again and again. This is a 1 row repeat pattern, and as you keep working your rows, the texture is going to work out itself. It will become more and more evident and more beautiful as you keep working your Suzette stitch. So you're going to repeat the same exact instructions as row 3 again and again until you get the length of the panel that you want. Now after this row, I'm going to introduce my actual cardigan, and I'll be explaining how many starting chains that I did for the different panels of my cardigan, and also how which measurements that I considered while constructing the cardigan. All right, so you can see the texture starting to form. I'm going to get one of the panels here so that I can show you the bigger picture of how the texture is going to just look very beautiful as you keep working this beautiful stitch. So you can see that we started from here, the single crochet row, and then we started creating the texture and repeated row 3 again and again until we got this beautiful texture. This is one of the front panels of my cardigan. All right, so now that we know how to create the stitch, let's go onto the actual panels of the cardigan and also learn what to consider while creating the panels, the different panels of the cardigan. All right guys, this is the back panel of my cardigan, and as you can see, I started with shoulder to shoulder measurement in order to determine the width of my back panel, which was a total of 20 inches wide. So I started with a chain of 89. My starting chain for the back panel was 89, and I worked a total of 101 rows in order to get the length of the back panel that I needed, which was 33 inches. So my cardigan is going to be 33 to 35 inches, actually 35, because I will add a ribbing at the base of my cardigan. So I am considering 33 inches, or whatever number that you want your cardigan to be, minus the 2 inches that are going to cater for the ribbing at the base of the cardigan. So for me that is 33, and I did a total of 101 rows in order to achieve that. So you can see how dense and how textured this stitch is, very beautiful. And yeah, that's it for my back panel. I'll be leaving all the details on the screen so that if you're to make the same size as mine, you can follow along easily. So all right, now that's it for my back panel. When it comes to the front panels, I did 2, and I'm also going to talk about the things to consider while working your front panels. So this is one of my front panels, and I started with a chain of 37. Actually, I started from this side. I started with a chain of 37, and my front panels are 8 inches wide. So whatever inches that you have for your back panel, you're going to take off 4 inches. So let me say 20 inches for my back panel minus 4. That will give you a total of 16 inches. and you're going to divide that number by 2, and that will give you the width of each front panel. So as you can see, I have 8 inches because 16 divided by 2 is 8, roughly 8.5, but I considered 8. I think just stretched a little bit. But yeah, that's what you're going to consider. Your back panel width minus 4 inches, and then divide that number by 2. That will be the width of your front panels. And yeah, you're going to go ahead and make the same exact number of rows as the back panel. So 101 rows. And we have our second front panel here. You will follow the same exact instructions that you did for this one in order to get both front panels finished. So now that we have our 2 front panels as well as the back panel, I'm also going to explain what I did for the sleeve. Now for the sleeve, I started with, I want a bubble sleeve. So my sleeves are going to be a little bit wide, as you can see here. So I started off with a chain of 89 for my sleeve, and you're going to determine how wide you want your sleeves to be. But for me, I started with 89 chains, and this gave me a total of 20 inches for the sleeve width. And then I worked until I had a total of 17.5 inches, as you can see here. This is going to be the sleeve length. So I did a total of 58 rows in order to get 17.5 inches for the sleeve length. And you're going to go ahead and make your second sleeve the same exact way that you've done the first one. So that is all the bodies, all the pieces of the cardigan. 2 sleeves, as you can see here, 2 sleeves. Then we have 2 front panels, and then we have our back panel, which is the biggest panel of them all. So we're going to now assemble everything and see how to put our cardigan together before we introduce the ribbing of the cardigan. Alright guys, I've laid my work on the ground like this in order to show how to assemble your cardigan. Now you're going to make sure that the single crochet row is on this side, on the outer edges of the assembly of the cardigan. The single crochet row should be on that side. Now we are going to go ahead and attach our 2 front panels onto the back panel and leave behind a space in the middle of the back panel. This is going to create an opening at the front of the cardigan in order to leave room for the ribbing to settle in. And yeah, I'm going to just get my darning needle and I attach stitch to stitch on this area. You can see the stitches here and the stitches on this side. I will attach from the outside edge towards the inner edge. So from the other side all the way to the center of the cardigan. So let's get back on the desk and do that, and then we shall return to see how to place the sleeves as well. Alright guys, now that you've seen the bigger picture of what's happening, I am going to use a single strand to join the 2 pieces together. So I'm going to thread my single strand into the darning needle, and I am going to join stitch to stitch. Right, so just like this, we're going to join 1 stitch of the back panel onto 1 stitch of the front panel. just like that, stitch to stitch, until all the stitches of the front panel are finished. All right, so we're coming to the end, and I am attaching my last stitch of the front panel onto the back panel, and I will attach it twice, just like that. Now you can see how beautiful the seam line is, almost invisible actually, which I didn't expect, but it looks really clean and neat. So you're going to get your pair of scissors and cut your yarn, leaving behind a tail to weave in. And we're going to go onto the opposite side, and we're going to attach. Remember, the single crochet row is on the other side, the outer side, or the bottom side of the cardigan. So I'm going to go ahead and attach the second front panel from the outside edge towards the inner opening of the cardigan. So go all the way across until you finish attaching your second front panel. So I'm attaching my last stitch, and I will attach it 2 times, just like I did on the opposite side. And then leave a tail behind for weaving in. So we have our 2 front panels joined. You're going to get your sleeves, and along the last row of the sleeves, you're going to identify the exact middle stitch of the sleeve. So for me, this is the one, and this is the side that we're going to be attaching onto what we already have. Remember, we don't attach the side that has the single crochet row. So we're going to be attaching the last row of the sleeve onto the body of the cardigan. And you're going to do this for our second sleeve as well. Identify the middle stitch of the last row of the sleeve, and this is what we have. Now let's get onto the ground and see how we are going to place our sleeves onto the body of the cardigan that we've already constructed. All right guys, so this is what we have after joining our back panels onto our front panels onto the back panel. This is what the seam line looks like. It's very clean, as you can see. The moment we weave in our ends, it's going to be a very seamless and beautiful cardigan. So this is our back panel and our 2 front panels attached onto the back panel. So let's introduce our sleeves. So this is what our sleeves look like. I've placed them in a way that the stitch marker that we just placed on our sleeves is in the middle or at the same line level of the cardigan that we've already constructed. So we are now going to go back onto the desk, and I will be showing you how to attach your sleeves along the sides of the cardigan that we already have. And then we shall come back here to see how to fold over and now create the actual piece. But this is really pretty, guys. Let me know in the comment section if you're already loving your project. And yeah, let's get back onto the desk. All right, so you're going to get your darning needle and you're going to thread it with a single strand because it's what we use to join the panels together to get that very neat finish. So I'm going to push these away so that they don't get in the way of our demonstration. So you're going to get a long strand like the one that you can see here, because we're going to first attach onto this side and then come back towards this side. So you're going to remove your stitch marker and we're going to attach that very first stitch where the stitch marker was. It's the exact middle. And along the side of your cardigan, you should be seeing some rows appear shorter than others. Some appear long, some appear short. The ones that are on the side of starting with a half double crochet appear shorter than the ones that end with a half double crochet. I don't know if you can notice that, but for me, I noticed that while I was working my cardigan. So the ones that appear shorter are going to get one stitch of the sleeve. So I'm going to attach 2 times, but I'm not going to pull the whole strand all the way through. I'm going to leave behind this tail to be the one to work on the opposite side. So 1 stitch and then 2 stitches are located into the row that appears long. That's what I'm going to consider. Then 1 stitch of the sleeve into the row that appears short, and then 2 stitches into the row that appears long. Okay, so 1 stitch into the row, the one that starts with a half double crochet, the one that appears short, and then 2 stitches of the sleeve into the row that ends with a half double crochet. That's the row that appears long. I hope I'm clear on this. So that's the ratio that I'm going to consider. 1 stitch and then 2 stitches into this row that appears long. So I'm going to stop talking because at some point I'll get confused, but I hope you've gotten the sequence or the formula to follow. So you can see how everything is playing out so well, because somehow it's kind of calculated. So I'm attaching my last stitch of the sleeve and I'll attach it twice just to secure it a bit more. And this is what one side of our attached sleeve looks like. So we're going to go ahead and get this tail that we left behind on this side, and we're going to go across the second half of the sleeve and attach it to this side, which is the front side of our cardigan. So right, so we are done attaching our sleeve. As you can see, very neat, guys. I'm very excited for this one because everything is just working out in my favor. It's not what I expected when it comes to seaming up the sides together, but it's giving me a very neat finish. So I'm going to go ahead and attach my second sleeve the same exact way that I've done this one, and then we shall get back on ground and see what to do next. All right, guys, look what we have right now. We have our sleeves attached onto the main body of the cardigan, and it's looking really, really lovely. And yeah, so we are going to fold along the seam line where the front panels met the back panel. So you're going to just do this along that seam line and fold over your work. I'm going to go ahead and fold mine, and then I'll show you what I'll have. Along that line, fold and then turn your work onto the front side. All right, so when you fold over your work, you're going to have something that looks like this. If I'm to move backwards, you're going to see something that looks like this. So remember the 4 inches that we took off the back panel in order to get the width of the front panel. These are the 4 inches. That's the gap in between the 2 front panels. And our sleeves are done, as you can see here. Now we're going to go back and join those sides, the side of the cardigan as well as under the sleeves, using a darning needle and 1 strand of yarn. And you will do the same exact thing on this side as well as under the sleeve. And then we shall have the basic structure of the cardigan, as you can see here. And then we shall go onto the ribbing of our cardigan. All right, guys, now I'm going to start from the bottom of the cardigan all the way to the armpit, and then I'll also join under the sleeve from the armpit towards the wrist area. So you're going to get your darning needle and start attaching the side of your cardigan together. Find a way of attaching row to row. All right, guys, so I've joined from the base of the cardigan all the way to the armpit. And now I'm going to just go ahead and join from the armpit all the way to the wrist, or the outside edge of the sleeve. All right, so I'm coming to the end of the sleeve. And I've just been joining row to row. Make sure you join it until the very end. And this is what we have. That's the same line that's under the sleeve from the armpit all the way to the outside edge of the sleeve. Now from here, you're going to just leave behind a tail to weave in. And then you're going to repeat the same exact thing on the opposite side. Join the sides of the front and back panel along the side, and then also under the sleeve towards the outside edge. And then I'll meet you back to show you how to create the ribbing on the inside opening of the cardigan, as well as the sleeves, and also at the base of the cardigan. So let me go ahead and do this, and I'll meet you back after that. Alright guys, now that we have the basic structure of the cardigan, we are now going to go onto the ribbing, and we're going to start with the ribbing that's around the front opening of the cardigan. So to work on this ribbing, you're going to make a slip knot, and you're going to make a chain of 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So now you're going to go into the second chain from the hook and place a single crochet. Continue to single crochet in each and every chain all the way across. Just single crochet in each and every chain, and you should end up with a total of 10 single crochets because the 11th was the turning chain. Alright, so we have our 10 single crochets for row 1. We're going on to row 2. You're going to make a chain of 1 and turn your work, and this time around we are going to place our single crochets in the back loop only of the stitches of the row below. So into the back loop only, you then place a single crochet in each and every stitch. So make sure you're placing your single crochets in the back loop only to create a ribbed effect. Alright, so you should make sure that you have the same exact number of stitches as row 1. So since I had a total of 10 for row 1, I should be having 10 single crochets for row 2 as well. You're going to make a chain of 1 and turn your work, and you're going to just repeat row 2 again and again until you have a ribbing that can wrap around the front opening of your cardigan. So I'm not going to dictate a number of rows to do, but you're going to make this really long so that it can wrap around the front opening of the cardigan, and then I'll show you how to allocate these rows onto the body of the cardigan. So chain 1, turn your work, 1 single crochet back loop only in each and every stitch all the way across. Alright, so you can see the ribbed effect starting to form, and it will be on both sides. So you're going to go ahead and work this as long as the opening that you have. So as you can see here, I've gone ahead to do as many rows as I can. I can't even tell how many rows I have at the moment, but I just kept trying it onto my cardigan and made sure it can go around from one side all the way to the neckline and down the opposite side. So you're going to get your cardigan. You're going to get your cardigan and you're going to place the ribbing along one side. So as you can see here, this is the foundation chain of the ribbing. So we're going to go ahead and place it like this, and we're going to get our darning needle and single strand, and we're going to start attaching our ribbing onto the rows of the cardigan. Alright, so you're going to thread your darning needle, and we're going to start attaching our. So the reason why I've put the foundation chain of the ribbing this side is because if I don't have enough rows on this side, I can just go ahead and keep working more and more rows and keep growing the ribbing. So we're going to place our work like this, and you're going to attach your single crochet row into one of the rows, one of the single crochet rows of the ribbing. So I usually attach with 2 stitches, and then into the big row, which the one that ends with a half double crochet, you're going to attach two rows of the ribbing into the big row. You're going to attach 2 rows, and then into the small row, the one that starts with a chain of, that starts with a half double crochet, sorry, you're going to attach 1 row of the ribbing. So just like that, you're going to go all the way up. So 2 rows into the big row, and then 1 row of the ribbing into the row that starts with a half double. So this is what you're going to have. You're going to try to be as consistent as possible. That way you're not going to distort the structure of the cardigan that we've already made. As you can see here, we have a very flat look. So you're going to go ahead and go all the way up, and when it comes to this part of the neckline, you will allocate 1 row of the ribbing onto each stitch at the back of the neck, and then you go back to the formula that we are using onto this side and use it to work on this side as well. That's the reason why I mentioned that the ribbing that you decide to do for this part has to be super long, so that it can accommodate from this side to the opposite side, as you can see in this image. So let me go ahead and keep attaching my ribbing, and I'll meet you back when that's done, and then we shall work on the next ribbing. Alright guys, we've finally gone all the way around and up the neckline and to the opposite side, and you can see I'm left with a few rows that I had done. These are excess rows, so I'm going to go ahead and unravel the excess bit of it, just like that. And at this point, I am going to just make a chain of 1 after the last row of the ribbing. Just make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn, leaving behind a tail to weave in, and then you're going to find a way of winding up this point, either by tying a knot or using a darning needle to weave in your tails. So for me, I'm going to just tie a triple knot just to secure my yarn a little bit more, and I'll cut off the excess yarn. So this is what we have, guys. You can even go ahead and get rid of the loose ends at this point as well. Okay, let's see what we have right now. I'll be attaching some images for you so that you see exactly what's happening, but this is what we have. We have a ribbing that runs from one side of the front opening of the cardigan all the way to the opposite side and across the neckline, and that's basically it for this ribbing. Now we are also going to create a ribbing at the base of the cardigan, and in order to do that, we are going to repeat the same exact process that we did for the ribbing. This ribbing right here, the chain of 11 and then single crochet and then start going into every row with back loop only single crochets, as you can see here. So you're going to make one that's long enough to run around the base of the cardigan, as you can see here. So we're going to go ahead and attach our ribbing the same exact way that we've done the ribbing here. So just get your single strand, right? So we're going to get our single strand and thread it into our darning needle, and we're going to start attaching you're going to start with the side that has the foundation chain of our ribbing, so that in case you need to add more rows, you can just add as you keep attaching your ribbing, just like we did for this one. So for this one, I am going to attach one row of the ribbing into each stitch at the base of the cardigan. That's all that I'm going to do. So you're going to first secure your yarn very well, and then you're going to just go into each stitch with one row of the ribbing. All right, so I've made it all the way across the ribbing. Sorry, I've been out of frame, but I've just gone into each stitch attaching one row of the ribbing. Now I'm going to just continue to attach each one stitch of the cardigan into one row of the ribbing. So this should be the foundation chain of the body of the cardigan. So you're just going to go into each and every chain, attaching it into one row of the ribbing. So you can see how the ribbing is looking very, very professional. Guys, look at that. Oh, this looks so good. Let me just continue working, and I go all the way around to the back side and then back to the front side of the cardigan, and then I'll meet you back when I'm through with that. Alright guys, we are through with the bottom ribbing. Look how beautiful this ribbing is. The placement is just too perfect. I wish I had done this before this one, but either way, everything looks perfect. I can't complain. We have that ribbing running all the way across the base of our cardigan, and I have a few extra stitches to work with, as you can see here, a few extra rows of the ribbing. So I'm going to just unravel them just like I did for the other ribbing in the middle of the cardigan. Just unravel in case you have some excess, and then make a chain of one and cut your yarn, leaving behind a tail to weave in. And from here I will attach one last time, and that will be it for the ribbing at the base of the cardigan. Okay, so from here you're going to just cut your yarn, leaving behind a tail, and you can even go ahead and weave it in at this point, because I have basically gotten rid of most of the loose ends on this project. So you're going to just go ahead and weave in the tail, and also get rid of this one. so that we leave behind a very neat finish and we don't have to come back to it. Okay, so all right, so this is what we have. The bottom ribbing has been achieved as well, and I'm going to just go ahead and get rid of all the loose ends of my cardigan, and then we are going to go onto the ribbing on the sleeves. That will be the last ribbing of our cardigan. Okay, so see what we have. This is the bottom ribbing of the cardigan. Now we are done with the main body. The ribbings are all placed where they're supposed to be, as you can see here. Now the cardigan is upside down, and this is the bottom ribbing, as you can see here. So that is all finished, and now let's go onto the ribbing of the sleeves. Now for the ribbing of the sleeves, you're going to repeat the same exact process for creating the ribbing until that ribbing can wrap around your wrist. So you can see I've already started mine. I'm going to keep working until I have a ribbing that can wrap around my wrist comfortably well without stretching. And I'll be back to show you and also let you know how many rows that I ended up with. And then I'll also show you how to attach the ribbing onto our sleeve openings. So you're going to go all the way around your wrist, building until it can come back to this part, and then we shall see what to do next. Alright guys, so I created a ribbing of about 30 rows, and this goes completely around my wrist. If you want it tighter, please consider this measurement while stretching. So for me, 30 rows is enough. I don't want it so tight, I just want it like this. And I'm going to make a chain of 1 and cut my yarn, leaving behind a tail to attach everything together. So the good thing, I am using a double strand. So I'm going to use one of the strands to join this ribbing into a round. So you can even use one strand. In case you used one strand for your ribbing, this is going to be the same exact tail that you use to attach the ribbing onto the cardigan sleeve. So I'm going to go stitch to stitch and join this ribbing into a round. All right, so we've attached until the very last stitch. So now we have something that looks like this. Your hand should be able to comfortably go through, and this is going to be the ribbing on the wrist. So I'm going to go ahead and attach the ribbing onto the sleeve. So for me, I was very intentional about the number of rows to make for my ribbing. I just considered the number of stitches that I have on the sleeve divided by 3. So that's the number that I considered here. So all right, so I have a total of 88 stitches all the way around, divided by 3. That is a total of 29.3, and I just rounded it off to 30 rows. So those are the rows that I considered to make for my ribbing. So I'm going to go ahead and attach 3 stitches of my sleeve into each row of my ribbing. Just get anywhere on the sleeve and attach 3 stitches of the sleeve into each row of the ribbing. So you can see those are 3 stitches, and then you go onto the next row and attach 3 stitches of the sleeve, 2 and 3. And I'm going to go all the way around doing this. So into the next row, attach 3 stitches of the sleeve. So you'll be seeing that we are creating a bubble-like look eventually. You will see the final outcome. All right. Into the next row, attach 3 stitches of the sleeve, 1, 2, and 3. Into the next row, 3 stitches of the sleeve. So you can see what is being created right now. So you can see this. It's creating a bubble sleeve. So go all the way around the ribbing, attaching the sleeve onto it. And I'll be back when the sleeve is fully attached onto the ribbing. So you can see how many stitches we are left with on the sleeve. They're quite many. And you're going to keep allocating 3 rows of the sleeve into each row of the ribbing. All right, guys, we are done going all the way around, and look what we have for our sleeve. Guys, I'm very pleased with this. I feel like it has given me a very beautiful finish for my sleeve. It looks so beautiful. I wish you could see it in person. This color is so cute, and the more you work on this project, the more beautiful it becomes. So it's really motivating to keep going. So once you get done attaching your very last stitch, you're going to push the tail to the wrong side of the cardigan and leave it at that. We shall weave this in later on. Oh my God. Look at our bubble sleeve. So we're going to go ahead and do the same exact thing for our second sleeve. So we're done with one sleeve, and our second one doesn't have a ribbing yet. So we're going to transform this wide opening into this beautiful ribbed sleeve. So just rewind the video and repeat the same exact process. All right, so after finishing your second sleeve, you're going to have both sleeves look like this. Look how beautiful they look like in a set of 2. And I think at this point, that area is finished. We're going to go ahead and weave in all our tails. Just look on your sweater and make sure you get rid of all the loose ends that you have on your sweater. Thankfully, I have done that while I was working on the different parts of the cardigan. Sorry, the cardigan, not the sweater. So I've done that while I was working on different parts of the cardigan, and I don't have so many loose ends to weave in. But that's basically it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure you give it a thumbs up if you did, and I will definitely see you in my next video. Thanks for watching, and thanks for being patient with this project. If you happen to recreate it, don't forget to tag me in your finished piece. And also, don't forget to check out the written pattern on all my online shops. I'll be leaving all the links behind. Thank you so much for all the love and support. And if you made it this far, thank you so much. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.